This is Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. It is sponsored by Independent Bank and Marianne Quist, Remax Central. And this week, Katy Huckle, we have a special guest in the studio who has had a learning curve in the last 5 or 6 months. We have the new executive director of the Cadillac Area YMCA, Mike Kelso, with us.
We do. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so Mike had shoes to fill, big shoes to fill. And it was interesting, Rich. He and I just enjoyed lunch together last week. And so I just assumed, shame on me, that when this transition happened, that you already wanted the job and that you just knew that. And what I found out during our lunches, Mike, when Dan Smith left the community, that Mike stood back a minute and thought, what's right and what feels right. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to it. I've been at the Y for 15 years, and I was pretty comfortable where I was at and enjoyed working with Dan, and we were pretty close. So it was a bit of a process for me. When he said he was leaving, it's kind of mourning the loss of my mentor, going to leave the community. So I had to kind of get through that and then really come to the realization that I'm at the point in my life and my career that it's time to make a change and step up and take that role. And luckily I had, by the nature of the process, had a couple months to get through that, to figure that out. But as I told you before, I realized once Dan said he was leaving, it just started naturally happening. My mind started shifting and thinking in that way, and that's what really solidified to me. It's like, all right, I better go for this.
Did any of your coworkers say, Mike, you got to put in for this? Did that happen?
Yeah, it's funny. I got that a lot from some coworkers and from the community, and that's an interesting thing to sort out. Like, I didn't have anyone come up to me and goes, yeah, you better not do this. You're not cut out for that. Nobody did that to me, right? That'd be a pretty bold move. But I had lots of people coming to me saying, oh, you should do this. And to be honest, some people didn't really know me that much. I was like, why are they saying that? I really had to question that a little bit.
That had to come from the fact that you'd been a familiar face there for years.
Yes.
Okay.
And a leader.
Yeah. So I think I really said, I don't want to do this or get this position just because I've been here. That's not how the world works anymore, really, to be honest. Yeah. I want people to know that I've earned it and that I want it, and I have a vision for where we're going to go next. So I was very deliberate about that. And when I got to the point where people say, oh, you should do this, I go, well, why do you say that? I'd kind of question them.
Excellent.
And some people didn't really have a reason because they didn't know me too well or maybe even know the why too well, but some people did. And that was really valuable to me, especially other people who had been in leadership and whatnot. So
excellent. I can remember talking about it, and you hadn't made a decision yet, and me thinking that same thing, that this just seems natural, but ultimately was the board selection, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the board worked with YMCA of the USA to do a full search process, and YMCA of the USA has 4 CEO search consultants to kind of work the country helping Ys do this. So they went through that whole process and had some other candidates from other parts of the state, I believe, and kind of went through all that. So they put me through the paces and 2 days of interviews and all that. So I definitely had to articulate that to the board. And I think I surprised some of the folks on the search committee. One thing I asked in that process, I said, what are you worried about, with me doing this? And I said, well, we thought we were worried about, it'd be the same old thing because you've been here for so long. But what I presented was not the same old thing. So that was...
Mike had some new ideas.
Yeah. So I didn't know that was something I needed to take on. And by the grace of God, I had that in my mind. And he put that on me to kind of talk about that. So that worked out well.
Absolutely. One of the things, Rich, that I love about the Y is this is a nonprofit that isn't just sitting back. They're constantly assessing how to do things better and looking at new programming. And so that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today, Mike, is what's on the radar, what are things that you're looking at, and then can you give us a new program that's been implemented recently that you see filling a community need?
Yeah, that's probably one of our 2 toughest questions we're dealing with last year and this year is what's next, what's new for us, and sustainability. Our building's 10 years old. We have some big things to take care of there. But kind of that what's next program-wise, because before we built the building, it was all about just trying to get established and fulfilling needs and being everywhere. And then we got the building and kind of got focused around that. Now we've kind of filled up that space and we're kind of living that for a year or so. And honestly, I don't think we've been real thoughtful about what's next. So we're starting to do that. And that's part of our strategic plan the next year to figure that out. I think some areas where that could be just looking at community needs. We're already been doing a lot of work in early childhood. I think there's a lot more work to do within the community in that. Definitely, it's got to come out of collaboration with like CAPS and the ISD, the educational bodies, which we're already working with. So that might be a place to go. We started a new collaborative program just this last fall with Munson Hospital, the PHO, called Fit Kids 360, which was a Munson program. It's going on in Traverse City. We just did one session of that this fall. I'm going to do another one this spring. That's definitely very collaborative. I think if anything, what's going to be next, it's going to be collaborative, especially in a community our size. You got to come together to do things.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Fit Kids 360? What is that program?
Yeah, so that is a program that it's a family program. One of the participants has to be a youth who meets some health criteria, one of which being obese, but it's for the entire family. So it's about family change, not just about that individual.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of health education, a little bit of physical fitness and lifestyle change. But it's an evidence-based program that was developed elsewhere. I can't remember exactly where, that puts together some fitness staff, some dietitians, some physicians, some nurses, some social work, kind of brings all those tools together to work with the family.
Wow. Okay. Do you have staff members come to you and want to implement programs? And that's kind of got to be a challenge to keep everybody happy with these ideas that are brought to you.
Yeah. I mean, staff members, community members, like, we want this, we want to see this happen. And as my previous role as program director, and even now, you kind of go through a series of questions of like, all right, why is that? Who's going to do this? Is there a need for it? Do we have the resources to do it? All those things you've got to figure out this is plausible. Ideas are fairly easy. Making them a reality is the tough part, right? So
yeah, everybody can dream big, right?
Yes.
To implement. Rich, as we were getting started today and visiting with you, said something that's so true about our local Y. You walk in and you've got every age, people on different equipment, people taking classes. What's the secret? Everybody seems to be enjoying themselves and getting along, but I mean, people in their 80s and then little kids too, all in the same building.
Yes. Well, one, just having a facility that's set up to serve that spectrum of folks, right? We have our child care area, we have our fitness area, so a place for people to be. I think it's a lot about the culture that our staff and volunteers create that look for people's needs. And people don't always know what their needs are. They may come for one thing and then get a benefit from something else. A great example of that, we talk about the age difference, right? We have foster grandparent volunteers that work in our early childhood programs, and some of them are also in the senior fit program. So they're getting served themselves in the Y, but then they're serving each other through another program. And just having staff and volunteers to have a vision to see those things and connect it creates that culture where people get connected in a deeper way, I think.
Great. So I remember I'm talking to Dan Smith about this, and tell me, did this actually happen, this program, where it's maybe almost like a New Year's thing where, okay, we're going to bring people in that can work out together, that aren't going to feel self-conscious, to try to make healthful steps? Is this ringing a bell? Or
a few years ago,
okay.
I think we tried, I can't remember even what we called that.
Okay.
Something we tried for a while that didn't really get legs under it.
Okay.
Significantly. I see that happening amongst little groups of members on their own. And that's something cool too. Like, we don't create everything in the Y. Our members create it. You can see the groups of people that find each other. We try to be deliberate in facilitating that, but it happens on its own. I think, again, just because of the culture.
Are we talking about pickup basketball, or are we talking about something totally?
Everything from pickup basketball to, we have a group of ladies that does our water fitness classes, and then I see them finding each other on their own later in the week to do more things in the pool together. We didn't directly facilitate that next thing, but we did the first thing, right, to bring them together.
So our Y really has the first community pool. Can you talk about how critical that's been?
Yeah, I mean, when we were developing the facility over a decade ago, that was the biggest facility feature need that was identified. The pool was number one, and I think teen center space was number two. We'd been operating one before, but having that be a part of the project was important. We're the only full-size, publicly accessible pool within 45 miles. So that was pretty huge.
Wow. So when we talk about teen programming, 'cause it's delicate.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us how that works and what some of the things the teens do?
Yeah. So of all the populations we serve, that's probably the one I'm most passionate about.
Okay.
It's a tough point of life for anybody, let alone if you have challenges, right? Our teen center grew exponentially beyond what we projected once we opened the facility. And I think it's because, one, what they had to access, right? So we have their teen center room. That's kind of like home base, but then they can go everywhere else in the Y, use the gym, use the pool. So that's stuff that teens want to do. But I think for parents and teens, it fulfills both their needs, right? Especially our middle school kids. They're too old for daycare, right? But mom and dad don't really want them going home alone after school. Okay. But the Y has a mix of freedom and fun that the teen wants, but it has that supervision that the parents want. And that combination works nicely. And so we have tons of middle school, junior high kids taking that. And parents love it because they know they're going to get some homework help, they're going to get some mentorship, and they're safe. We try to take away the barriers to access to getting there. So,
wow, that's remarkable.
This is a perfect time to bring up, since you're talking about the teen center, Mike, I wanted to self-centeredly, if you will, talk a little bit about Damian Brooks. Damian is a frequent user of the Y, been part of the Teen Impact program and the Teen Center program there for a long time. He's a DMP student. He's one of our kids at the CTC. And you and I were talking before we went on the air about how we've seen this kid grow. Damian has cerebral palsy, okay, and that, affects him physically in ways that people will look at him and maybe think that he's capable of a lot less than he actually is.
Yep.
This is a kid who is going to graduate. He will spend 2 years in our class, and he is such a great kid. And talk a little bit about how the growth that you've seen out of him as kind of a microcosm of how growth happens in others at the Y.
Yeah, I mean, Damian's story is a great example of the mission we try to fulfill with teens. And I'm lucky enough to have been around long enough to see that progression happen with lots of youth. Damian's one of them. Damian started out at the Y, I think when he was about 12 years old, participating in our Taekwondo program. And he was accepted there. And I think that was a big deal for him to be accepted someplace, especially in a physical yes, activity realm. So that was the first step. And then a few years later, as he was a freshman, I believe, he enrolled in our Teen Impact program. And when he first came to us, Damian was a little tricky. I could see that, all right, he's getting judged based on the surface, his physical abilities or lack thereof. His speech isn't great, right? And as a teenager, tough years anyways, right? That's right, an extra barrier.
It is.
And I saw him being frustrated with the level of acceptance and judgment that he was getting. And honestly, he had a little bit of a bad attitude about it. He was kind of like whatever, yes, and took advantage of his disability with getting people to do stuff for him that once we figured out, hey, you can do that for yourself. We're not going to do that for you anymore. And what I think he found at the Y with a smaller environment that and a group of people and teens and some mentors to help those teens accept him and look beyond his surface to see who he really was, and that he was really a cool, awesome young man. Mm-hmm. And then it really clicked for him. It was like, this is my place. This is my tribe, mm-hmm, right? And he really bought into that, and it gave him confidence to engage people more, even though it was hard for him to engage people in conversation. So I saw him grow in that over a couple of years. And I saw him really take a leap when he became a junior and joined the DMP program with you guys over at CTC. I saw his excitement just go through the roof. I mean, every little project that he got, he would come after school and want to show me every little detail of it. And the idea of what are you going to do after high school, we started talking about, I think before his junior year, it became, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure this out. And so just seeing I'm discouraged, I'm kind of just mad at life, to, all right, I found a place here at the Y, to, I found something in DMP and Career Tech Center that's going to take me beyond just my little group at the Y, or just beyond my family or my school. Looking at adult and career and further education is just great. And one thing that he really hit me with this last year, I was talking to him about that. I said, everyone's impressed with you over there. how did you know, that's a tough thing to take on. He said, if it wasn't for you guys at the Y and Teen Impact, I never would have had the confidence to even go give that a shot. To me, that's a win, right? Mm-hmm. I don't care what you do with your life. If we give you the confidence to go do something, we've won, right? So I can't take credit for DMP and CTC, but I love the fact that we gave them the confidence to go try something, to do something, just rather than just being and letting life happen to him.
He is a really, really good video editor, and he's probably a better video editor than 90% of the more able-bodied kids in the class. And he has to work hard, 10 times as hard to do it because of the fine motor skills. But Katy, honestly, when you watch this kid work and you know what the Y has done for him and what our class has helped in his confidence, it's just it's what makes going to work worthwhile every day.
It's inspiring. It sounds like it was a good team effort with the two organizations, and you gave him hope, and he believes in himself now.
Yep. And it's great that, I knew the players across the street at the CTC, and so we can kind of share those things back and forth and support him in doing that where he needs it. So
it's back to what you said.
It's all about.
Yeah, collaboration. Again, collaboration.
We will continue our conversation with Mike Kelso from the Cadillac Area YMCA in just a moment here on Cadillac Unscripted. First, a word from our sponsor, as well as a check of your forecast from Morris Langworthy for this what looks to be sunny weekend, 107.9 CDY. Buying a home is still the great American dream. And yes, it can be an intimidating process, but you can rest assured and have confidence when the professionals from RE/MAX Central are in your corner to guide you through it. Mary Ann Quist of RE/MAX Central has helped hundreds of home buyers in and around the Cadillac area navigate the process over the years, and she's ready to help you too. From start to finish, from finding a home to submitting an offer, to understanding the purchase agreement, to inspections, surveys, and appraisals, to the time when you finally sit down and sign those closing documents, Mary Ann will be there. When you're ready to buy, talk to Mary Ann Quist at RE/MAX Central. See her listings at teamquist.com. We continue our conversation now with Mike Kelso, Executive Director of the Cadillac Area YMCA. It's Cadillac Unscripted, 107.9 CDY.
Can you tell our listeners about, there's a program that involves kids coming to study and they get a snack or something like that. What is that program?
Yeah, that's basically a part of the Teen Center.
Okay.
So we look at the Teen Center, like, what do teens need after school? One, they need some supervision to keep them out of the negative social choices that can happen in that time. I always joke, my grandma used to tell me nothing good happens over midnight. Statistically speaking, nothing sometimes good doesn't happen between 3 and 5 p.m.
Sure.
Right? So we're trying to look at that overall societal issue. So what are the barriers to getting to the Y? We provide busing from the school, and kids want to eat after school, especially our middle school kids eat lunch really early because of the schedule there. So we get a free snack. And then we have our staff and volunteers provide homework help, and also just kind of letting them do their thing, but also guiding them when they're going off the rails as far as socially and engaging each other. So that's kind of the pieces that it takes in taking the barriers away. And we really try to keep our youth membership really affordable. We have our free 7th grade membership program, so any 7th grade in the community gets a free membership. And then our staff visit the middle school and junior high lunch times once a month and hand out free guest passes. We hand out 500 of those a year, just trying to give kids access who don't otherwise have access.
You're coming to them.
Yeah, definitely have to outreach for that for sure.
Great.
Why 7th grade? Why not 6th or 8th? Why 7th?
Yeah, so I think originally got that idea from another Y somewhere in the country. That's the great thing about being a Y. You can share ideas, collaborate that way. But when we kind of talked to the school and talked to some other youth social work organizations, that is a key time when the independence of after school is getting, they're getting more of that independent time, and they're starting to make bigger decisions socially, for better or for worse. So let's try to create a positive social habit in 7th grade by giving as much access as we can, everyone being able to come for free, to hopefully that positive choices lives out through the rest of their teen years, whether that's still coming to the Y or not. The idea that they've created some good social patterns in 7th grade that they'll keep going through high school.
Do you have a benefactor that makes those 7th grade free memberships possible?
It changes each year. I think originally we've got like some specific local donors to that. We've done that through some grants. We had an opportunity to present to the 100 plus women who care group in Cadillac that just developed a couple of years ago. I just learned about it. They invite us to present, and they're going to support that by around $500-600 to help supplement. We've got to takes a lot of resources to serve those teens, especially as their volume went up over the last few years. So we get it from multiple sources.
As the word goes around, people want to take advantage of it.
Yeah,
for
sure.
And as you said, that 7th grade time is so crucial. Right. And that's and that's kind of what I thought your answer was going to be, but I wanted you to confirm.
Yeah, get him on track.
Yeah.
Yes, get him on track.
Mike, we talk about all the programming, and that's a full-time job with a full-time staff, keeping all that going. But then you've got fundraising.
Yes.
It's just a whole nother animal. How's it going? What's next for the Y in fundraising?
So that's the part of the Y world I got exposed to significantly more in the last 6 months in my new role. Okay. And one thing I want people to understand about that is, a lot of folks think the Y is a club, a gym. That's an element of what we do, and that produces revenue for us. But those things we've been talking a lot about, teen center, all this financial aid scholarshiping that we do, we don't turn anybody away. That takes financial resources through donations and fundraisers. So, our big season is really kind of for just solicitations, asking people just to donate through annual campaign, kind of happens in the fall, end of the year. And then we hit the spring, get ready for our Dancing with the Y Stars, which is our main event-based fundraising. And we're actually taking on a new thing this year, the Cadillac Festival of Races that's been going on in the community for quite a few years. The organizers of that kind of backed off that last year, and we contacted them and said, hey, we want to bring that back. A lot of people love that. It happens on Labor Day weekend, gets a lot of local people and draws people in. So we're in the process of taking that over and getting that back out for this fall. So that's a lot of our board work, committee volunteers, and that's something that's really been eye-opening for me, even though I've been around the Y a long time, of how many people in the community get involved with that to make those things happen. It really hit me with Dancing with the Y Stars, Katy, that that you're involved with it. We have several dozen people, the dancers and the choreographers that dedicate months of their life to be a part of that. 700 people who attend, and the tickets they buy and the funds that they give. That's where it really solidified for me that I don't work for the Y, I work for the community. It's just really humbling to see the support that we get through those things.
What about major donors? It is the Dillon family Y. Is there a hope that there's another Mr. Dillon out there?
Yeah, we're, as a nonprofit leader, always trying to look for those opportunities and cultivate those relationships. I'm not real seasoned in that. I just know you've got to be out there building relationships, telling the story of what your mission is and what you do for the community. And those more experienced to me say, you do that work, you never know where it's going to come to benefit your organization, but you do the work, and God willing, at some point, that comes to fruition. And I've really only seen that a handful of times in my career. Obviously, Mr. Dillon and the significant gift he made to build the Y facility, Baker College and what they did to establish the Y facility and to help us be sustainable here in the last couple of years. Those are big moments that you cultivate through relationship and by fulfilling your mission and doing good work. People don't support you unless you're doing good work.
Absolutely.
So putting all those things together is what I've learned I got to do, and look for those things to work out. So
let's just, for fun, say you receive a phone call tomorrow, and someone's going to give the Y $1 million. And we're going to say the board today gave Mike a green light to make this decision. What would it be?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
What would you do with the money?
Yeah, so it's funny when you start dreaming like that. You can always come up with more ideas and ways to go than you always have resources. I think right now would probably be a combination of, one, I'd sit down and talk with the board about it, a combination of, looking at where our endowment is in long-term sustainability, seeing where we've hit pattern-wise as far as being mission-driven. We're always going to need that kind of support on an annual basis if we're really focusing on our mission to support that and be sustainable. And I think with a significant gift like that, then you start looking at what's our next big thing? What can we invest in facility with either addition, renovation, on-site, off-site, or a program that takes a big shot in the arm to get going That's the trick about fulfilling needs. Those needs are out there still because they're hard to fulfill. If they were easy, somebody have already done it.
Right.
You can't make those sustainable from day one. So when someone wants to make a significant gift, you look at, all right, what is this thing we've been trying to do or we see that needs a good shot in the arm to take that to the next level?
Does the facility need to be expanded? Does it need to be larger?
Yeah, I mean, we're membership-wise, we're really kind of tapped out on what we can sustain with the size of the facility we have, especially this time of year. You know, this is where we hit our high point, January, February, March. Between 3 and 7 p.m., we could use twice as much square footage during the week. We're really kind of tapped out there. So when it comes to, you know, we haven't gone through this in detail with the board and kind of, you know, we doing feasibility studies or whatnot, but figuring out if we were to expand, what would that be? What makes sense? What can we sustain? I've learned from seeing other organizations, if they get a big chunk of money, they get excited and want to build something shiny. That's great, but you have to maintain and operate that thing for years. So you need to build responsibly, do something that you can utilize in an efficient way and take care of in an efficient way. You know, having a pool is a great asset, but let me tell you, it takes a lot to take care of that thing. You know, heating 200 and some thousand gallons of water to 82 degrees 24/7. The gas bill is pretty high, so we've got to utilize that a lot. So if we're going to expand, you got to do it responsibly and something you can sustain. So.
Well, maybe it's time for you and the board to put together a wish list.
Yeah, well, I can give you a wish list, but it's like, all right, have we gone through the process to make sure it's a smart wish list? That's what we've really got to do.
I see.
Yep.
Wow.
Priorities is what it's all about.
Yes, priorities.
How do you look at other Ys around the country and pattern yourselves around that, or do you look first at the community and see what the needs are?
Yes to both of those.
Okay.
So we definitely learn from other Ys. That's a great thing about being a Y. We've, you know, whenever I've got a question, we have an alliance of the state Y. I'm going to meet with them Thursday. We get together once a quarter. So I can bounce things off them, learn from their triumphs and their mistakes probably as well. But so I think it's balanced between that and what are the community needs. 'Cause every community is unique. There are similarities, right? So what are the community needs and what are the community assets to collaborate with? I keep coming back to that because I think it's just essential. That's what really drives your decisions of where you're going to go, or at least it should. So.
Okay. Well, Katy, you got any more? Because we're almost at the end here.
I know it. I just want to tell you guys, I think you're doing a wonderful job. And
ditto.
I mean, the buy-in from the community. There were all kinds of power outages last winter, and our Y was one of the only Ys in Northern Michigan that stayed open for folks. And it wasn't just for the members. It was for, okay, the community might need some help with showers, with heat. And I just think that says a lot about our local Y leadership. So bravo on that one too, Mike.
Great. Thank you.
Well, when you're bringing in the community that is not familiar with the Y story, and they go in and they see all that there is available in there, you might find yourself a new member out of that, or a new family that says, hey, this is pretty cool.
Yep. I think, you know, we're in a fairly small market, right? So we can fool ourselves internally to go, well, everybody knows about this. Everyone knows what we do because we live it every day. We have to be careful and say, no, that's not necessarily true. It's really hard to get people's attention anymore. And I think it's about hitting them when they have a need that matches what you can fulfill, then you get people's attention. So that's an example of, I have a need in the moment of a power outage, right? You don't think of the why of that, but that's a small need for a moment that we can fulfill. And then that maybe connects people to other needs that we can fulfill. So
I think another thing that makes you and your board and leadership special is your willingness to listen to somebody's ideas or somebody's need, or somebody wants to collaborate. I think you're very open-minded, and I think that's a top-down thing. So just hats off to you guys on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's essential, and I've learned that over the years, and I actually learned that a lot from Dan, who came from not from the community and was able to build those relationships and get that established. That, to me, just clicked like that's the recipe for success. And I've seen it happen a lot within our organization and others. And it's funny, like collaboration can come out in different ways. I think when it comes out the best is when you get people together and they do something that fulfills a need, but it doesn't matter who gets the credit.
Oh, very
Sometimes
good.
we get caught up in who gets the credit, and I got to fund my organization. I got to fund this position, which is all necessary, right? Just to keep business going. But when things go that like, this is so important, we don't care who gets the credit, who gets the resources. We just got to do this thing.
Yes.
When that happens, that's when it's just awesome.
It's magic.
Yeah, and it's magic. It works.
You guys are doing a great job. Mike Kelso, our executive director of the local YMCA, thank you so much for being with us.
Great. Thank you.
Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY, sponsored by Independent Bank and Marianne Quist, Remax Central. Join Katy and yours truly next week, 8:30 in the morning, for another guest on Cadillac Unscripted, 107.9 CDY.